everyone.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to Jigsaw Parenting. And it's a time where you guys get to hear a little bit about what we're going through as parents and our daily challenges and some of the ideas of how we figure it all out. My name is Sumitra Single, and I have with me today
Stephen
Sissy
back.
and
Sorry
Sissy
about that, Stephen and Sissy. So I am the parent of 3 kids. 2 of them are in high school. One, in fact, is a senior in high school. And the youngest child is in middle school, which is 6th grade. It's 2 girls, 1 boy. Their names are Jordan, Tyson, and Charlie. Sissy, what about you?
I've got 2 girls, one 10-year-old in the elementary school and one 20-year-old who just dropped out of college. Gabriele, 20-year-old, and Daniela is the 10-year-old.
And I'm the widowed
And how
father.
about you, Stephen?
Oh, sorry. I'm the widowed father of 2. I have Ethan, who's a 12th grader about to head off to college, and Brian, who's in 6th grade.
Okay, and jumping right into today's topic, it's interesting because Stephen has a child who is about to go to college. I have a child who's about to go to college, and as Sissy said, she has a child who went to college but then dropped out. So you know what, Sissy, I think your story might be really interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's kind of it has to do with the early age when you got to decide what college you want to do, what study you want to do, and they have to decide really early. So my daughter thought she knew exactly what she wanted to do, but at the end, after a year or 2 years, she decided, no, I don't know, stopped going to school and eventually dropped out, thinking I'm going to go for a different kind of education, but couldn't figure out what to do because there's so many choices nowadays.
Yeah.
They're so early and have to make responsible choices and not being exactly sure about what to do about it. And now she's been at home for about a year and suddenly realized that her first choice actually was what she wanted to do. So now she's waiting out the time so she can start over again. And now she has to deal with being an older kid with younger classmates, but so be it. She finally found out what she wanted to do. So I'm hoping this will be it.
You know what? I was gonna say, I'm sorry, Stephen. That's kind of interesting because when I went to college, I went into college knowing exactly what I was gonna major in, or at least I thought I knew. Because when I took the course in high school, I absolutely loved it. It was accounting, and I had a real passion for it. I did really well in it. And I got to college, and not until the year I started to get into the classes where you're really into your major, so like your junior year, I realized after taking a college level course like that, I hated it. I was like, there is no way in the world that I am going to do this for the rest of my life. This is not what I envisioned based on what I was in high school. So that's funny to me. Not funny, ha ha ha, but funny or interesting that she went in knowing what she wanted to do. So in my case, I ended up switching. I still was a business major, but I changed to marketing because I had a little bit more passion about the marketing, just because I like to deal with promotions and dealing with people. And that was more of a people type subject than accounting was, whereas accounting was more sit down, work with those numbers, what we used to call a pencil pusher, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting that happened to you. Right now, I'm finding I'm kind of with the idea of how involved do we need to get with kind of guiding our kids in college. That's what I'm kind of toying with, or I'm struggling with. For me, my mother and father were immigrants to the country, to the U.S. They're not born here. Neither one of them went to college, and everything that I made decisions about for college, I made them. There was no parental input because they didn't understand how the system worked here at all. So I just had to figure it out. So I felt like I made good decisions, but could I have probably benefited from some guidance? Yeah, maybe.
Well, I think one of the things we're also looking at is a little bit different educational programs. Sissy, you're in Europe, where they have to choose earlier, from what I understand, than we do here.
Yes.
Personally, my son wants to go into engineering. I know that I left college for 5 years. I dropped out of college for 5 years. Didn't know which direction to go in. I had a good job. I had a company truck. I had a lot of nice perks.
Listen, you're big time.
What's that? I had some nice perks and benefits, and I was also considering going into turning wrenches, being a mechanic. So I would work during the day and selling auto parts, and at night I would turn wrenches with a mechanic I knew, just to kind of learn the business. And I learned to change engines and that sort of thing. And I realized that's not what I wanted to do. So I went back to college, and I went the full round. Now, my dad did go to college. He went to University of Dayton, class of '57, go Flyers. My mother was the first one in her family to graduate high school.
Okay.
Her parents never got out of middle school. Very poor family. I've actually seen the duplex they used to live in. It now has running water and an indoor toilet, to give you an idea. So she grew up very poor, didn't know how to give advice on the subject, which we often run into with our first generation college kids. And my dad was one of 13, where you kind of had to figure it out on your own. I grew up on a farm. They were not poor, but they grew up on a farm, and you decided where you wanted to go, and the guidance was within the school system, or in his case, the seminary, and that's what brought him to where he was. So he didn't provide quite the guidance I think he could have. It's I don't think it was intentional. It's just kind of the way it was. You figure it out.
Right.
And I had to figure it out, and it wasn't always easy. And for that reason, me and my siblings grew up very differently. But I think my son has a little more direction. Both his parents went to college, and graduate school, and that sort of thing. So we're giving them some direction. Doesn't mean they get the perfect grades, and it doesn't make us the perfect parents.
Right.
But it does help if he has a roadmap ahead of time.
Yeah, so that's similar to you, Stephen, is us. My husband and I, both college graduates. So for us, we've always thought, had we had more guidance from our parents, which of course, like you said, it's no fault of theirs, because if they had not been there or were not familiar with it, what really could they tell us? So since we didn't have that benefit, we are trying to give our daughter, the oldest one, Jordan, some guidance about where to go, what to major in, really getting into, don't just pick a major. Make sure you can actually get a job with that major, because you don't want to, as we call it, don't walk away from college with a BS degree, like literally a BS degree. What are you going to do with that? Oh, that sounds great, but now what kind of job are you going to get? Are you going to be able to survive and support yourself? So we're trying to not just help her as far as the major, or at least major options, but also the school, and making decisions between in-state and out-of-state, and how much is that going to cost? And it's a lot, because we've never been in this boat before. This is the first one to go to college. So this is so new for us.
Well, my son has his heart set on Florida State. He's been accepted at FIU. Florida State asked for some more paperwork. His grades weren't perfect, but they were decent, but they could have been better. But we've gone through a lot the last few years. Losing his mother in his sophomore year, watching her sick for 2.5 years before that. It's been a rough few years for him, psychologically, emotionally, for all of us. And that has changed some, the focus of this. We had it all planned out. We're going to take him to all these college tours. And we did some of that. I worked for the University of Florida when I worked at another school, and we worked on getting first-generation college kids into college. And it was a very successful program. Predominantly black students at that school. Our school was the most successful of the 9 that were involved at the end. Unfortunately, the grant ran out. So I learned a lot about how you got to get into college. And I think we've instilled that into him. But we got a little off track because we had that, obviously we were distracted a bit.
Yeah.
I also find culturally sending kids away for college can be very different. We work mainly with first generation college kids, which meant most of our schools were African American, and one in particular was predominantly Hispanic here in Miami. And with the Hispanic parents, it was all, you want my child to go to college, right? You want the best for him, right? Yeah. Then why do you want to take him away to Gainesville? Because that was the University of Florida. And so trying to, get them out of the nest wasn't easy. And we see that where we're at now, predominantly Hispanic school. A lot of the parents want their kids to go here. When I work predominantly with African-American parents, they're like, great, take them, let them go, allow them to go and would really let them step out without a problem. I didn't work with a lot of white parents. I am a white parent, but I do believe I think it's really good for the kids to get away from the environment they're comfortable in.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in South Florida, yeah, we have our multiculturalism and such, but you're still in this bubble south of Orlando, where anything south of Orlando, it's the same mix.
Right.
And, my son may end up going to community college first, but I don't want him to get caught in that trap either, where it's just high school plus.
Right. Or what we call, Stephen, 13th grade, right?
Exactly. And what happens? They take 13th grade 5 years and then they drop out. And, that happened to my brother. I've seen it happen to a lot of friends. I think the best thing I ever did when I decided to go back to school after 2 years, 5 years off, was getting as far away from here as I could and still pay in-state tuition. So I went to Florida State. And I did the whole thing. I joined a fraternity. I went to the football games, lived in the dorms, studied all night, all that sort of thing. And it was a huge decision.
Well, you know what, Stephen, it's funny because our oldest, Jordan, I think we've always pushed her to get out there, go away, explore college, explore other places, other cities. And I think we've ingrained it into her head so much that in her mind, she's got to be at least 2.5 hours away from where we live. She's just done with us. Okay, listen,
I agree with her.
Be in the same city with you all because we pushed that so much.
Yes. Well, I think you did the right thing. I think you did the right thing. And Sissy, I gotta wonder, what are the limitations? I mean, you're in a smaller country, obviously. I don't know how college works. I know they don't have the big college sports complex and the fraternity sorority thing and that sort of thing. It's different.
We don't even have dorms. So, and that's something they would really like here because it's a huge problem. Because, like you, Sumitra, we would encourage the kids to go find a school, obviously a school that we think it's a good one, but as far away as possible, so they can grow up and be responsible and self taking care of themselves, learn to do stuff and take care of their laundry, cooking, everything. But at the same, we don't have dorms, so they have to go look for houses or rooms. So they'll have to pay rent, and that's a huge problem because in the communities where the colleges are or the cities, there's a large shortage of rooms, or their prices will go up. Okay. So it's really a big problem. So we've got a lot of kids commuting, going to school every morning with the train. So we've got a really good train system.
Yeah,
nothing like ours here. It's
not
pretty
here.
good.
No.
But no, so we have to. So public transportation, and they'll get that part of it. It's they don't have to pay for it. If you're in college studying, the public transportation is for free. So that's why also. But then they'll come over in the weekend. At first, in the beginning, they'll come back home with a bag of laundry and eat and sleep with mom and dad. And then Monday, go back up. And so that's the situation here. But we would love to have dorms so they can really be independent and go out there and live and make friends in the new cities and start living their lives and making experiences instead of coming back to the bubble home with their old friends, Exactly. So that's something we really would wish here for, but it's just the way it is.
I was going to say, Sissy, do you find? Go ahead, Stephen.
Now, I'm wondering if how many of them come over to the United States to study for that very reason, to have that experience. I know over there they have to decide very early. Do you think it's too early for them to decide?
That's funny. I was going to ask that too.
I think it's way too early, and there's so many choices, but it's way too early because they're not developed yet to know what they really want, what they really like. And we've got parents like Sumitra saying, well, if you want to do, what kind of job are you looking for? How can you pay for your life? All the stuff you want, you won't be able if you've got a BS degree. So, so that's the questions we're asking here. The same thing as you guys, but on the other hand, there's so many choices, and they'll come up with, oh, well, I found this little study. It's close to home, and it will get me papers, and I'll still be studying. And I'm like, yeah, but after the 4 years, we're paying for the school, and what will you be paying for? What kind of job are you looking for? So it's way too early. I'd rather have them study a little bit longer, and then, well, they're at least 18, 19, then make the decisions that will finally decide what they're going to do.
And that's how it is here in the US. Like, they're really just kind of making those decisions at about 17, that last year of high school, when they are putting in their applications. When they're putting their applications into those colleges, that's when they have to say, declare what their major is going to be. So it gives them a little bit more time, hopefully maybe a little bit more exposure to some ideas, and maybe they're making better decisions. I don't really know,
Well, I also think those first 2 years are just the basic courses that everybody takes. And they could change their mind. I mean, we all hear about, I changed my major 5 times before I was a senior. That's more the norm than the exception, I think, here. I also we see a lot of these tech schools popping up, and I think one of the there's pros and cons to that. I think part of college isn't just getting a job; it's making a well-rounded individual to contribute to society. So those first 2 years, I think, are extremely important because it rounds them out a little bit. Yeah, you're taking art appreciation and music appreciation or whatever humanities courses that may not have to do with the job that you're going to get, but it also shapes who you are. And I have a belief that university graduates a lot of times make the decisions on where our society is going. And if they're going to be making those decisions, they need that well-rounded stuff that you're not going to get in a tech school or, like Kaiser or DeVry or whatever the school's like, which say, okay, we're just going to give you the courses you need to go to get a job. So, you want to get a major that's going to get you a good job. But I worry about some of these schools that focus only on getting the job.
I agree, because Stephen, just like you talked about when you went to college, you went to the football games and you went to the student led organization, fraternity, all of that, because it's an entire process. It's not just the job; it's who college can help you become. To help you become a better adult. So I think you're right. That is something that some of those technical schools are lacking. It might be great for certain students, not certain students, but certain kids, let's say. But it definitely, there's some drawbacks there.
Yeah. Okay. It does, because you need that to shape you, to the life experience.
Absolutely.
Yes. So this has been an interesting conversation today. I kind of want to talk about something currently that's going on with us here. Stephen and I, since we work together at the same school, we are just starting our spring break. And this spring break, I'm not doing anything because of the pandemic, and just because mentally I'm exhausted, right? I've had it. I just want to sit down. I want to be a bum. What about you, Stephen? What are you going to do?
Well, my kids are, my youngest one is at the beach with my sister-in-law, but it's a private resort beach, so it's not too crowded. Miami Beach is insane right now. I'm not going anywhere near there. We'll probably go out to dinner or a few things like that. I thought about camping, but they didn't get the grades, so we're not doing that. That was going to be a reward. That's not happening. So we're staying in town. We'll do a few things. My cousin's coming in town. She wants to go kayaking, and I'm like, we're going out to Beer Can Island and the Hall Over Sandbar. And I'm like, you know what? I got my vaccine. She's got her vaccine. We're not taking the kids with her. So we'll do that for a day. She's from Ohio. There's no beaches there. So
this is a chance.
Yeah.
To get the water.
Yeah. And it's finally warming up. It's hot out there today.
It's really hot. You're right.
It really is. So we'll stick around. I'm going to work in the yard. I'm going to be picking our loquats off the tree. It's loquat season. So we're going to have plenty to eat out there. I'm just going to relax, do some work around the house. This has been the 25 years, and we've had different challenges. This year is the first year when I'm like, you know what? When's retirement? But I've never looked at it that way.
Listen, the fact that you've gone that long and just are thinking about that, like that's finally itching you, you're doing really well. Because that itch comes a lot sooner for most people.
Yeah.
Sissy, do you have your spring break there?
No, not really. We do have a couple of days off because of, let's say, the holiday season, because Easter's coming up.
Right.
So people get days off, but not really a spring break. We'll get it much later in the season. We're going to get about 2 weeks off, but not really. So with the days off, usually people go, if the weather's nice, if we're lucky, like you guys, we'll just go bike riding or walking through the parks, stuff like that, or maybe do a picnic, see if there's an egg hunt. But now with the pandemic, no chance. So
I know. I was gonna say, how do you egg hunt with a mask on?
We're gonna have a family egg hunt. We always have a family egg hunt.
Oh yeah, okay, that's true. You can stick around with people that you know.
Right.
I'm happy to say tomorrow I go for my first dose of the vaccine, so I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I got mine last Friday, and it was the Johnson & Johnson, so I'm done.
Okay. So fingers crossed, everything goes well. I can't imagine anything there being a problem. That vaccine's got to be better than the situation we're all living in right now.
And they're ramping up. They had over 3.5 million people yesterday vaccinated.
I heard that. Yeah,
more and more. They expect most adults by the end of May.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah,
super exciting. We're doing some good stuff here in the U.S.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that's been a wrap. I'm really excited about what you guys had to say about parenting. As far as college, it sounds like I'm on the right track based on what you guys are doing. So I'll keep you all posted on what happens with Jordan and what she's going to pursue.
And Ethan, he'll get to college one way or the other, whichever one it is. He'll be fine.
Yes. And Sissy, it sounds like she's already, like your daughter's already on the right track, because at least she now knows that her first idea of what she wanted to major in is in fact where her passion lies. So
yes, that's true. So I'm really happy about it, because the realization is a big thing.
Yes.
Nobody takes you serious till you're 30 anyway. So
probably, I think you're right. Okay, folks, so this has been Jigsaw Parenting. Again, I'm Sumitra Single, and I have with me
Stephen Bax
and Sissy Van Vark.
You guys have a great day, and we'll see you back next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.